And we heard the mayor and the emergency operation folks say that they'd only gotten reports or responded to minor flooding here in the Jacksonville area. So that is a bit of good news.
That's right. We'll take some good news. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Tim Deegan. You have been tracking this every single second for days now. Where is your focus right now?
First of all, my focus is exactly what y'all's focus is, and it's the triple underline what the mayor said, and that is that unfortunately it seems like with these events, it's as the storm starts to go by, as the Category 1 hurricane goes by and folks drive around, because it's so unpredictable when that one big limb or that one old tree is going to come down. But unfortunately, it seems like there's always at least one tragedy where someone's in a vehicle and the tree just happens to fall on them. So again, just want to triple underline, if you don't have to be out and about this evening, hold off until tomorrow. I think tomorrow is going to be a beautiful day, and the crews probably will have most cleaned up by then. Okay, in case you missed it, wanted to emphasize that the 5 p.m. official forecast from the National Hurricane Center, and we don't see any reason to argue with it, and we'll show you the data as we go through the evening hours, simply supports what the forecast was earlier, and that was that Ian, which was a powerful tropical storm, but just barely not a hurricane, has re-intensified out over the Gulf Stream. We don't think it's going to rapidly re-intensify for our friends in South Carolina, but it is headed towards South Carolina. Think Charleston to Myrtle Beach as opposed to Hilton Head to Savannah, and I know that's significant news for those of you in Nassau, Camden, and Glenn, which will be the last 3 counties to be dealing with what's left of the hurricane. And what's left? Well, these are the wind speeds. Now, these are the sustained winds. The 1-minute averages. But I want to point out something that's positive. Not only are the numbers not as high, although they're strong, 40 miles an hour sustained, 41 out around the beaches, 37 in St. Augustine. All the bridges are open except for the Lanier, but the winds are now out of the north and even beginning to see some north and northwest. What that means is, although there's a lot of motion in the ocean, with that northerly wind, not nearly as much of that can pour in. And as we go through the evening hours, those winds are going to do what we call backing, and that is they're going to start to come more out of the northwest, and that'll actually start to push some water out. So still strong gust out there. Look at this, even on the river, 53 miles per hour at NAS Jax. On the beach is 54. St. Augustine has had some lulls, if you can call it that, but at least we're seeing gusts in the 40s and the 50s as opposed to those gusts of 65 and occasionally near 70 we were seeing earlier in the day. Might there still be some gusts to 65 or so? There could, especially east of I-95 through about sunset. This is putting all the data together and trying to show you the developing eye, and it doesn't look too symmetrical, does it? That is good news. We don't want this to start looking symmetrical. As long as it stays unsymmetrical, again, strong northerly winds, southerly winds, and just not symmetrical, not circular. As long as it stays unsymmetrical, and I guess the official word we use is asymmetrical, it will continue on this motion off to the north end of the northeast, and that's why overall the headline is like this. We're going to have one more high tide. When I say we, I'm talking about those along all of the estuaries and the intracoastal waterways, the rivers and the creeks from Flagler County all the way up to Glenn. But I don't think it's going to be quite as high. Hyper-focused on Duval because so many are related to the St. Johns and the creeks there, whereas an overall average rise of about 4 feet. We saw down in St. Augustine probably about a 4.5-foot rise. On the St. Johns River, I think when it's all said and done, we're going to say it went up about 3.5. Irma was 5.5, and I think as we go through the overnight hour tonight, that 3.5 was the one we just had. The one we have overnight tonight might be actually a few inches lower than that. Much more on the forecast, and we'll have that for you in just a few moments.